Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to episode 106 of McRae Live. The date today is Thursday, September the 24th, 2020. It's 11:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And like I said, this is episode 106. Did I say 105? If I did, I meant 106. I think I said 106. And this is kind of an interesting topic. I know a lot of you out there have probably, I don't know, you've probably thought about it. You've probably pondered it. Maybe you've even conceptualized it. Could other Scream Queens, could other final girls play other roles in other horror franchises? I thought this was kind of interesting. I thought this would be a fun one, you know, and I was thinking, and really this kind of came to my mind because I was thinking of, about Ellie Cornell, of course, who played Rachel in Halloween 4 and Halloween 5. And I was thinking, you know, there's a reason why a lot of people like her. And there's a reason why, there's a multitude of reasons. Again, even if you're not really consciously aware of it. But Rachel Carruthers was very much the quintessential sort of archetype of a girl next door, final girl. You know, she wasn't, you know, again, look, let me say this. And this isn't a hard, fast rule, okay? It's not set in stone, but traditionally, at least from what I've noticed, okay, final girls are, you know, are attractive. They're good-looking girls, but they're not, you know, they're not, and again, I understand that this is very subjective, but I think we can look at this objectively to a degree. You know, because there is what is classically handsome or, you know, traditionally beautiful, and it has a lot to do with symmetry and bone structure and things like that, right? You know, nobody would say that, you know, Ellie Cornell or Heather Langenkamp, you know, or Neve Campbell are traditionally runway model, you know, holy fuck, hot. And that's not saying that you don't find them hot, but I think you know what I'm saying. I think we can, you know, hopefully you can understand the nuance of what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're not attractive or that you don't find them hotter than other people. I'm not saying that. I'm a girl next door guy myself. But I found that the archetype of a final girl usually is a girl next door who's very cute, right? Very attractive, very pretty, but not in a, you know, not in that sort of traditional Hollywood type way, right? Just sort of a regular, good-looking girl. She's strong. She has an inner strength that is untapped, that has always been there, but is largely untapped. She's not afraid to sort of speak her mind, you know, about how she feels. But she's usually, you know, doesn't, yeah, like, I mean, you know, when you think of Rachel and when you think of Sydney and when you think of Nancy, there are a lot of similarities between those characters. There are a lot of similarities between those characters. And I was thinking to myself, you know, you could put Heather Langenkamp's Nancy in Halloween 4, and I don't think you would lose a beat at all. Now, I'm not suggesting, now again, let's try and remove the emotion, but I like Ellie Cornell. I know that, and that's fucking fine. I'm not saying, you know, there's going to be people out there, but Dave. Anyway, so, but when you think of the character and when you think of all the qualities that Nancy has and the qualities that Rachel has, I was thinking to myself, you know, you could put Nancy in Halloween. I can totally imagine Nancy on top of that roof with, and I don't mean she's Nancy from Elm Street in the movie. I'm just saying, like, pretend Heather Langenkamp never was in Elm Street, basically, is what I'm saying. And you could put her in Halloween 4, and I don't think you would miss a beat. I think she's got the right look. I think she has the character has the right balance between softness and sweetness and strength, untapped strength that is largely not fully realized yet. With her character, which is a very important quality in a final girl, that it's always in them, but part of their arc is discovering that strength. Part of their arc is coming to terms with that reality of maybe that side of their character. And when I think of Nancy, and I'm like, you could totally put her in Halloween 4. 100%. She could be Rachel Carruthers like that, to me anyway. Could totally see her, being a little kind of like, I have this foster sister. But then, there's that journey that she goes on with her. And every scene that you have Ellie Cornell in, I can totally imagine Heather Langenkamp. 100%. 100%. And I think it would have been just as good. Like, I don't think you would have missed a beat because the same qualities and the same charm are there. So it's kind of interesting to me. Now, when we think of Sidney Prescott, and could we move her over to A Nightmare on Elm Street? I think we could. I think you could, and again, I'm not suggesting that's what you do, but I'm saying imagine a world where Heather Langenkamp was never in Elm Street. She didn't audition for it. So, again, it's hard for some people to imagine this, but if she was never in Elm Street, we wouldn't be missing her right now because what we don't know, if you know what I mean. So, and imagine if, of course, it's a different era, right? It's 12 years later, but imagine if Neve Campbell was your Nancy in Elm Street. Could totally see that. 100%. Again, she has the same, she's very attractive, but she's not, that stereotypically, classically, runway model, porn star. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. Not that porn stars are all that attractive. But I think you know what I'm talking about. The girl next door. Each one of these characters and each one of these actors have that girl next door vibe, and all the traits. Of course, that's in the writing too. You can totally write them not to have it, but it's believable when you look at, the way they look and the way they come across and the way they appear. It's totally believable. And I could certainly see Sydney in Elm Street, 100%. Not Sydney in Elm Street, but I mean Neve Campbell as Nancy in Elm Street. Could totally see that. Yeah, 100%, 100%. 100%. Now, when it comes to Ellie Cornell, could I see Ellie Cornell in Elm Street? Yes, I could. Absolutely. She's the weaker one. Ellie Cornell is the one, when you're imagining, at least for me, when I'm imagining these three, and you can imagine others as well, of course, but I just chose these three because when I thought of these three, they were the most similar in that archetype and in that stereotype of what we think of with a final girl. I know it might be blasphemous to leave Jamie Lee Curtis off this list, but I have to be honest. Jamie Lee Curtis, to me, Laurie Strode is, look, she will always be one of the greatest, the original Scream Queen, as they say. Although there are a few others that do precede her. But anyway, certainly in the slasher genre, right? When it sort of really began. And Laurie Strode is great, but Laurie Strode has a quality, for better or worse, that you don't really feel, at least not to the same degree that you feel it with Laurie Strode. Does anybody know what quality I'm talking about? There's a quality, for better or worse, that I feel in the character of Laurie Strode that I don't feel, at least not to the same degree, with Sydney, Nancy, and Rachel. Does anybody know what I'm referring to? And again, maybe quality is not the right word, but there's a thing that Laurie clearly has about her that the others, that I don't feel it to the same degree. Aaron Click says a maturity. Double Take Pigeon says Laurie is a misfit. DMT Infinity says, oh, you're talking about, or would Tree be more like Laurie Strode? You guys are talking amongst yourself. Tabitha Short says, I would count Laurie as a final girl over Rachel. They're both final. They're both final girls. Both of them. They all are. They all are. They all are. But one of the things that Laurie has, which isn't the same as the others, is the character of Laurie is a little more shy. She's a little more reserved. She's a little more introverted. And so she doesn't line up. When we think of Rachel, Sydney, and Nancy, there's more commonalities between their characters, right? I can imagine them swapping roles fairly flawlessly. With Laurie Strode, I don't necessarily imagine Laurie Strode in Elm Street. I think I mean, you could do it, of course, but there's a bit, I don't know if anybody would agree, but that's how I see it. I think there's a bit more, I don't know if I feel that. Or Laurie Strode in Scream, right? It's kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't really feel the same to me, you know, or Laurie Strode in, well, I guess, you know, Halloween 4. But anyway, so that's why these three are the most common, they have the most common characteristics in terms of their character traits to me. So when we get back to Rachel Carruthers, she was in not that Halloween 4 isn't, it's arguably one of the better sequels of the original series. We've talked about that. 5 is what it is. But with Rachel, she wasn't in really, 4 is one of the better ones for Halloween. But when we look overall, when we look at Elm Street 1 and Elm Street 3 and Scream and, Ellie Cornell was not in very good movies. So sometimes her full potential, it's hard to garner her in the other franchises it's hard to imagine, her in the other franchises. It takes a little more effort because we kind of have to go, let's think about this here. Rachel. Okay, Rachel. Yeah. Okay, Rachel. Yeah. Okay, I see her. Yeah. At least that's what I have to do. Nancy and Sydney, I think, are pretty interchangeable. I think you could put a Heather Langenkamp in Scream and it would work. I think you could put a Neve Campbell in Elm Street and I think it would work. Again, I'm talking about their characters. I know that might be hard for people to imagine them swapping roles because they're so identified. And I'm not suggesting they do swap roles. I'm simply saying that if we lived in a world where Neve Campbell was tapped to be Nancy and Heather Langenkamp was tapped to be Sydney, and we wouldn't be missing the other in the other role because it would never have happened. It would never have existed. We wouldn't, it's like the technology that's going to exist 25 years from now, we are not currently missing today because we have no idea what that is. It's the same thing. So we would not be like, it just wouldn't, it would be normal. Heather Langenkamp, Sydney, completely normal. It would be completely normal. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. And when I think of her and her look and the way and how the characters have similar characteristics where they're not as shy as a Laurie Strode, right? Not as introverted. They're a little introverted, but not as introverted as Laurie Strode. They're more just kind of, just maybe a little nerdy. But certainly, Neve Campbell was already Sidney Prescott was already doing a little something, you know what I'm saying? So, they're not quite Laurie Strode area, but I could totally see it. 100%. Oh yeah, 100%. Rachel is the one where it's like, can we imagine Ellie Cornell as Sidney Prescott? From a certain point of view, I can, but we don't have a large pool to draw from. And it's not like we have a large pool to draw from with Heather either, because we just have Elm Street 1 and 3. And you could make the argument, well, those are only 2 movies. Of course, you have New Nightmare as well, but I'm talking about not the cerebral approach, just the regular series. And you have 2 movies with Rachel as well. But I think, you look at Elm Street 1 and 3, you look at Halloween 4 and 5, there's no comparison. We have much more material from 1 and 2 in terms of their character than we ever do with 4 and 5 with Rachel. And of course, 5, she's killed like, a quarter of the way through. So, but I think I can. When I sit back and I think of Rachel Carruthers, who it wouldn't be Rachel. I'm not talking about Rachel. I'm just saying, the character name. But when I think of Ellie, at that time, being cast in Elm Street, let's say they were, they were the appropriate age, right? Yes, I can totally believe it. I can totally feel it. Yep. And again, you have to imagine that you wouldn't be missing Heather. You wouldn't be, because you wouldn't be any the wiser, because it just would never. Yeah, I can see it. I can totally see Ellie Cornell as like a Nancy. Yep. Sidney Prescott, I think I can see her a little more like a Nancy over a Sydney, I think. But, and again, folks, because I know there's going to be somebody that's going to say this, but in 1996, Ellie Cornell would have been too old. No, I know. I know. I'm saying that imagine a world where, everything was appropriate. Can you imagine this character as is in that role is what I'm saying. I understand that. I get, somebody's going to say it. But that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it's the world we live in. That's right, Duke Fleet. But Dave, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, come on, guys, fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying. Like, is it really? But you know what? It doesn't surprise me. I tell you right now, it doesn't surprise me because, a little bit of a side tangent here. When you have a YouTube channel and you've been doing this as long as I have, which is not very long at all, you do begin to realize, wow, people really do need. Now, I'm not talking about anybody specific in the chat or anybody watching. I'm just saying in general, when you've been doing this for, a few years, you begin to realize that there are a lot of people out there that need everything served to them on a silver platter. Like they need answers to everything, every fucking little thing they need to know. I need to know. I mean, and it's like, holy shit, is there not like, really, it's crazy. It's crazy. So it doesn't surprise me that, people, but that doesn't make any sense because Nancy wouldn't have been around it. It's like, anyway, So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I can imagine that. And I think the two strongest swaps are Heather into Scream and Nev into Elm Street. Can totally imagine that. I think those are, and maybe, even if I don't realize this, although I have suddenly just brought this to my conscious mind, but maybe because of this, they're very different movies, obviously, but you do have the same director and the same writer. Well, I mean, he wasn't the only one on Scream. He had input, obviously, but obviously it wasn't just Wes. But certainly in terms of stylistically, you have the same director. So maybe some sort of unconscious bias there where I'm kind of like, oh, I can kind of see that. Like maybe there's some, stylistically, it just makes more, I can envision it more. I don't know. But certainly I could definitely see Heather Langenkamp as Rachel Carruthers in Halloween 4, 100%. Oh yeah, for sure. I can imagine her on that roof, Michael coming over the top, George P. Wilbur with the fucking shoulder pads coming over the top, climbing onto the roof. I hate the way he climbed on. I love the roof scene, by the way. I love the roof scene, but I hate the way that he climbs onto the roof. He looks like Frankenstein. And he puts his leg over and he's like, it just, I hate that. I hate it. Just fucking climb over it like you're a dude. But I could totally see her up there. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I could absolutely see Heather Langenkamp as Rachel Carruthers trying to get Jamie to safety. Jamie! 100%. It fits because their characters are so similar in terms of their traits and their qualities, right? There's an untapped strength that Rachel has that she doesn't really know about. Do you know what I mean? And she's a good girl for all intents and purposes, but not. So was Laurie Strode, but Laurie Strode was much more shy and introverted and mousy. She was much more mousy, right? Whereas Rachel and Heather, Nancy, there's an introvertedness about them. They're a little nerdy, sure, but you don't get the impression that they're mousy. You know, Laurie's very mousy. Hopefully you guys know what I mean by that. That's a pretty common expression. So I think that's why, again, those three stand out to me more than Laurie. It has nothing to do with Laurie not being one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic screen. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that at all. We're talking about these three because these three are more similar. Yeah, definitely. And Sydney, I could imagine Sydney as Rachel as well. Nev Campbell, I could totally imagine Nev Campbell as Rachel. Yeah, okay. So I could definitely see Heather Langenkamp as Rachel Carruthers. Absolutely. 100%. I could totally see Nev Campbell as Rachel. 100%. I could totally see Nev Campbell as as Nancy in Elm Street. Yep, definitely. And I absolutely could see Heather Langenkamp, as Sydney in Scream. Yep, totally could. Again, same qualities. Ellie Cornell, I could definitely see in... Yes, I could see her as as Nancy. Yep. I could see, like, when I got to take a moment again, because what we see of Rachel, it's not the best shining light, right? So we have to dig more. We got to weed through the weeds, so to speak, and kind of just think about her character in certain scenes. And it's like, yes, yep. She's got the same kind of look, but she's blonde as opposed to brunette, right? They both have the same sort of girl next door, sweet, cute kind of vibe, right? But Rachel's a blonde and Nancy's a brunette. But it's the same, there's the same sort of quality in terms of their look. And their characters are very similar in terms of that untapped strength that they find that is part of their arc. So yes, I could definitely see Ellie Cornell in the Elm Street role. Yeah, 100%. Could I see Ellie Cornell as Sydney? Again, I think so. I think if there might be a little more, because, we got to kind of think a little harder on that one. But I think so. I think she might be better served for Elm Street, but I think I could feel it. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Hey, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know what you think and whether you agree with me or disagree with me, and whether or not who you see sort of in different roles and things like that, and add your own. Maybe there's a couple of that I haven't, I'm sure there's no doubt. There's even a few I haven't mentioned here. So comment below and let me know your thoughts. I would love to know that. In the chat room, what do you guys think? Who could you imagine in other roles? Now remember, sometimes it's hard to do that because I'm asking you not just to imagine them in other roles, I'm asking you to imagine a world that exists where Heather Langenkamp is not Nancy. And sometimes that's hard to do because these actors, especially when they have never really gone on to do anything else, right? So when you look at Nev Campbell, not that she hasn't, she's probably the most successful out of the three in terms of doing other things, but Nev Campbell is most identified with Scream, right? And when you look at Heather Langenkamp, yes, she's done other things too, but nowhere near the height of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And Ellie Cornell, is same thing, right? So sometimes because an actor or actress is so identified with a certain role, it can be difficult for us to actually in our minds pretend a world where they never were in that role, and could we imagine this actor or actress in that role? Sometimes it's hard to do, but that's what I'm asking you to do. So let me know. I don't know. I'd love to know what the chat thinks of this. I think it would be really kind of cool to know. I certainly can see that. Tab of the Short says, Dave, I may have missed it, but what is your definition of a final girl? Well, there is I'm pretty sure there is a term that there is a general consensus on what a final girl is. And I believe that generally, let me just look this up here. Let's see if I agree with this. Final girl You're going to get a lot of these tropes. Yeah, it's a trope, right? The final girl is a trope in horror films. It refers to the last girl or woman alive to confront the killer. Okay. The only one left to tell the story. The final girl has been observed in many films, including the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Alien, Friday the 13th, blah, blah, Scream. The term was coined by Carl J. Clover. Interesting. Carol J. Clover, in her book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in the Modern Horror Film in 1992. Really? So for those of you that don't know, the term final girl, according to this article here on Wikipedia, is not even 30 years old. It's 28 years old. Clover suggests that in these films, the viewer began by sharing the perspective of the killer, but experienced a shift in identification to the final girl partway through the film. And of course, they go in here into the tropes and the different little things that each trope has. But at its core, I mean, each final girl can be, yes, a final girl essentially, and I agree with that. A final girl essentially is, I mean, it says it in the term. It's the last woman standing, so to speak, right? It's the final girl. She's the only one left. All her friends are dead. She's the final girl. But there are certain character traits and personality traits that you generally tend to see over the course of horror films. That doesn't mean that you can't have a smashing, dashing, stereotypically hot one runway model, bold featured, final girl. It doesn't mean that. Of course you could, but generally speaking, they tend to be more girl next door type girls. Because they're more unassuming that way. And it's more relatable to the general audience, right? And usually they have a strength. For me, I've noticed that a final girl, for me anyway, is usually somebody that is like that, a girl next door type, that is very polite, very nice, a good friend, not necessarily mousy and introverted like Laurie Strode, like not to that degree. They could be, they can be, but generally they don't have to go that far where they're like a virgin and all that kind of stuff. They can be a virgin. It is a trope, but they don't necessarily have to be. But that is part of it. But certainly for me, the big one for me is there's a strength to their character that has yet to be fully realized. And part of the journey for them is realizing that internal strength. That to me is probably one of my favorite tropes if they implement it in a final girl. You know what I mean? So that to me, I think is the most important part of a final girl, because nobody wakes up in the morning expecting what's going to happen. And they have to learn how to cope with it. They struggle most of the way through, but they tap into an inner strength of survival that they didn't know they had. And you don't necessarily see it coming. It's not that they're really mousy and, they just kind of give up, but it's they need to fight for themselves, and for their survival. And you see that in Heather, in Nancy, you see it in Nev, in Sydney. You see it in Ellie and Rachel. You do see that. And you see it in Laurie too. You do. She's just a little bit further into a different area in terms of her character. I just don't think she's as similar. I'm trying to think of somebody else who would be similar to Laurie. I don't know if there is. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely, that's sort of how I see it anyway. That's how I see it. Let's go over to your super chats, because a couple of them came in while I was doing this. Anna M. Pops, hello. Anna sends in a super sticker and just with a mug of coffee and says cheers. Cheers to you too, Anna. Cobra Dojo sends in a £5 super chat and says, hi, Dave. My 10 desert island movies are Halloween, amazing. Burbs, yes, the Burbs. Fast Club, Hangover, Fright Night, Planes, Trains, Titanic, Jaws, Rocky 2, Odd Couple, yours. Ooh, 10? I mean, 10? Isn't it only like 2 or 3 or 10? Well, I would say 10, dude. I don't know. I mean, okay, let's see if Empire Strikes Back, Halloween, Black Christmas, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile. I would say, so that's 6, right? I would then say like Rear Window. I would say maybe The Bridge on the River Kwai. I think I said that wrong. Is it Kwai? Kwai? No, The Bridge on the River Kwai, I think is how I said. I think it's just Bridge on the River Kwai. I don't think it's the. But anyway, I would say then maybe like, Sunset Boulevard, or like I'd like to have a couple old ones in there too, like Sunset Boulevard. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, that'd be a good one to watch on the regular. So there's 10. I think that's 10 there. And I don't know if those are the 10. Those are 10 that I thoroughly enjoy. So, I mean, Jaws too. Fuck, I'd have Jaws in there, right? But that make 11. I don't know. There's too many. There's too many for me. Jason Myers sends in a $4.99 super chat and says, fun topic here, Dave, for sure. However, Meryl Streep could have been cast as Rachel and still couldn't polish those 2 Halloween turns. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not talking about the quality of the films, right? I'm just talking about the characters and how the characters themselves were written. And but you're right. No, certainly, I certainly agree. Anna M. Pop says, Dave, do you think Alice from Friday the 13th could play Laurie Strode? She's also shy and mousy. She is, but she's not as shy and mousy as... there's a certain confidence that Alice has. There's a certain confidence. And when I say a certain confidence, I don't mean that you look at Alice... Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I was thinking, for whatever reason, Anna, you are correct. I was thinking Friday the 13th part 2. I had, what's her face on my mind? Sorry. Alice from Friday the 13th as Laurie Strode. Yes. Anna, that is a terrific example. Does everybody see the similarities there? When you think of Alice... Adrienne King from the original Friday the 13th, right? Amy Steele. Thank you, Frank. Thank you. When you think of those 2 characters, Alice from the first Friday the 13th and Laurie Strode from the first Halloween, I'm not talking about their looks, okay? I'm talking about their characters. There are qualities about Alice and Laurie that are very similar. Very similar. Alice is very mousy and shy, right? You get the sense that she's a little awkward, that she wouldn't have a confidence to necessarily speak up or say how she's truly feeling. That doesn't mean that she's, completely useless. I just mean that there are certain qualities about Alice from Friday the 13th that are much more in line with Laurie Strode from Halloween. You are bang on there. Excellent insight there, Anna. That is true. And when you think of those 2, and then you think of Rachel, Heather, and Sydney, you can definitely see the difference, right? You can see for sure. They're all final girls. All of them are final girls. And each one has different stereotypical tropes. That is what a trope means. It's, essentially a stereotype, attached to them, right? They're all final girls. And Laurie Strode will no doubt be one of the greatest, if not the greatest final girls of all time. There's no question. It's not even up for debate. But the character does not possess the same qualities that Rachel, Heather, and Sydney, I keep saying their names. I keep saying their character names mixed in with their real names, that Rachel, Nancy, and Sydney have. That's some great insight there. Very, very, very insightful. Very insightful. Yes, Intel Wild says Adrienne King, isn't it? Yes. What did I say? Did I not say Adrienne King? Frank said Amy Steele, but he was referring to who I thought Anna was talking about. Ginny from part 2, which isn't the same, right? Because her character has more of a confidence, and you can see the difference. Like think of Amy Steele and think of Adrienne King and their characters in Friday, very different. Both final girls, both have certain tropes that are the same, but very different in their characters' confidence and sort of their overall. You know what I mean? So I could see Amy Steele going toe-to-toe with Michael on the roof in Halloween 4 over Adrienne King. You know what I mean? Adrienne, not her. I mean, she can play, they're actors, so they can play different roles, right? I'm just talking about what we know of their characters, right? Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Let me see here. Josh McGrath says, Dave, Olivia Hussey as Laurie and Jamie Lee as Jess Bradford. Let me see here. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're on the right track. Good job, guys. Good job. You see? I knew you guys could do it. You're on the right track. Yeah, that's something I didn't think of either. I guess because I was so in the moment here, but yes. I think Adrienne King might be a better fit for Laurie than Olivia Hussey. Olivia Hussey's Jess Bradford. I mean, like, imagining that character, like her playing the role that way, but as Laurie. I think Alice is a better fit, but certainly I think Jess Bradford is not a bad thought. Now, Jess, of course, was pregnant, wanting to have an abortion. So she's already done the deed and a little something, something. She's not afraid to get down, down and dirty. I mean, that was a big part of the subplot to the original Black Christmas. So, she's not as innocent as she may appear. But certainly there is a quiet reservedness, if I could say it like that. There's a quiet reservation, maybe. There's a quiet sweetness and unassuming nature to Jess Bradford, which makes it easier to imagine. But I think Alice is probably a better Laurie Strode. In terms of the character traits is what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's some good stuff. You guys are on fire today. That's great stuff. Simon says, hi, Dave. I hope you're well. I'm doing all right. Have you seen the Netflix movie, The Devil All the Time? I have not. Very good movie with some stellar performances from Tom Holland and Bill Skarsgård. I will make note of that. I think did it just come to Netflix? Because I think I just saw it. It just dropped like a couple of weeks ago or something or whatever. It's fairly new, right? I think it's fairly new. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, great stuff, guys. Great stuff. Let me see here. What do we got? Did I miss any super chats? Make sure I didn't miss any. No, Anna M. Pops. Anna is the last one. Okay. Good stuff. Tony Cosgrove says, Dave, have you ever seen Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon? It's an amazing take on the slasher genre while slightly spoofing it, but in a realistic way. Robert Englund is a Dr. Loomis in it. I have not seen it, but I have seen the trailers for it. And it is something that I want to see, actually, to be honest with you. I haven't thought of that movie in a little bit. So I will, I'll think about that. Because I'd be totally down for it. Totally down for it. Cybernet System says, Dave, how about Sigourney Weaver playing Sarah Connor and Linda Hamilton playing Ripley? Yep, 100%. Yep, see? Now you guys get it. Now you guys are on the right track. Yes, for sure. Those characters are pretty interchangeable. I can certainly imagine, again, we're imagining the character, which is sometimes hard to, and I get it. But yes, I certainly can see Sarah Connor's character as Ripley and Ripley's character as Sarah Connor. Yeah, like it's not difficult to imagine those two. So that's not a bad, that's not bad. Yep. I like it. I think that's doable. DMT Infinity says, Dave, who is your least favorite final girl in terms of their character? Not the actress who played them or even the movie. They're playing as a whole, but just the character herself and why. My least favorite final girl is probably Adrienne King's Alice from Friday the 13th. But I don't dislike her at all. I just, you asked what is the least, right? Well, she would probably be towards the bottom, probably. Yeah, I would say that. And my favorite final girl, I mean, you can go classic and say Laurie. We sometimes forget, too, what's her face from the original Texas Chainsaw, which is 4 years before Halloween. I mean, she's a final girl. I mean, obviously the term wasn't created until, according to this article, in 1992. So that's only 28 years ago. But certainly, for all intents and purposes, she's a final girl. Whether you like her or not is, that's a whole other thing. But and then, of course, Jess Bradford from Black Christmas. I mean, she's a final girl. Some of the OGs right there, right? So, yeah, I would say, but my least favorite is probably Alice. Yeah. And then my favorite, you can go classic, say Laurie, obviously, but I don't know. I think my favorite final girl, to be honest with you, I think my favorite final girl is probably Heather's Nancy in the first Elm Street, because I think it encompasses everything. It's like the perfect balance of everything. You know what I mean? I think it's like, she's got the girl next door kind of look. She's sweet. She's just a little shy, but she's got this, kind of this confidence about her still. She's got an inner strength that she hasn't tapped into that she eventually does. She's a little nerdy, but she's not an idiot. And I'm not saying that Laurie's an idiot. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I think Heather's Nancy is almost the perfect balance of everything. Like the perfect balance of everything. They don't go, the character isn't too far or too little either way. Like it's just almost a perfect balance. So I'll probably say that my favorite final girl of all time is probably Nancy. Nancy Thompson would be my favorite, I think. Yeah, I think so. Because it doesn't feel fair to even say Laurie because it's my favorite horror movie. But anyway, great questions today, guys. Great questions. Let me see here. Frank Riker sends in a super chat and says, how about Christy Cotton from Hellraiser as a final girl? She definitely could fit in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one, Frank. That's not a bad one. Yep. I could definitely see that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know about now, but certainly, no, I could see it. What does she look like now, anyway? I sound so vain when I say that. That's not what I mean at all. I'm curious. Is she still acting or is she not? Oh, for goodness sakes. There we go. Ashley. She's 54 now. Ashley Lawrence. She's 54. Okay, so she's still acting. Yeah, no, but that's not bad, Frank. That's not a bad suggestion. I'd have to watch the movie again because I haven't seen it in so many years. But, I can certainly tell by everybody in the chat that you're understanding sort of the ballpark for which I'm talking about. And it's nice to see everybody kind of go, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I totally get it. Because you could, there's going to be somebody that's going to come along and be like, but Dave, where's my butt Dave? I got to get my butt Dave in here. Here you go.
But Dave, I'm offended.
You know what's going to happen. I don't care. Make a gif out of that. Gary Rangel says, Dave, do you think Sydney has PTSD or can't tell? I think they would all have PTSD. I mean, come on. Imagine going through something like that and not just going through it once, not just twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but maybe 5, 6, or 7 times. I mean, it's insanity. That's why you have to suspend your disbelief and just, it's just a movie. You know what I mean? But yes, if this was real life, oh my God, there'd be so much PTSD that would fly around. It'd be insane. Absolutely insane. Let me see here. Michael McCarthy says, hey, Dave, did you notice in Halloween 1, Laurie's dad says about people viewing House at 10:30? Right. Do you think in Kill's flashback, they might show this and Michael killing them? No, I don't. It would be irrelevant. No, I don't. I can say with almost absolute certainty that that's not going to be in it. No, it's a waste of, it doesn't, no, the flashbacks will be more, the flashback will all have to do after the fact, like all have to do at night, 1978, not 10:30 in the morning or, whatever. No. Let me see. I'd like to get some people I haven't, seen in a long time or haven't maybe ever answered before. It's always nice to do that. Franklin Stein says Halloween Resurrection is the one I hate the most. This is for all oh shut up, laugh my ass off. Yeah, it's a bad movie. Goomba Johnny says deep fakers would have a field day with this topic. Yes, they would. Ooh, hey, if you guys know how to deep fake that shit. Of course, you'd probably get dinged royally for it, but I don't know how to deep fake at all. So I have no idea how to do that. But certainly I think that is, yeah, it'd be fun to see. It'd be fun. Deep fake is scary though, man. It really is. Like if the technology is this good now, and you can usually tell a little bit, but if it's this good now, like, what's going to happen if the cops come to me like, hey, so you fucking robbed a bank? Now, I know you're going to laugh, but I mean, fucking like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, what do you mean I wasn't there? Yeah, you are. They bring up, the security video. There you are. And it's me. Totally me. Handcuffs. Woo! Whoop, 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 whoop. I mean, it's just funny because it's like, what? Like, you cannot tell me that although everybody's having fun with this deep fake shit right now and it's all sunshine and rainbows and ooh, this is fun, and it's all just sort of, focused on just having goofy fun online, you cannot fucking tell me that there are not a lot of people out there who have already done it, are in the process of doing it for malicious reasons. You can't, it's an immense amount of power. You cannot tell me that now I'm not saying that it could be pulled off today or that there's logistics around it, of course, but you cannot tell me that there isn't somebody out there or a lot of people going, huh, interesting. Okay. If, of course, 100%, I would put thousands of dollars on it. 100%. I mean, it's not provable in any way, really, but I would totally. Oh yeah, it's all fun right now. Everybody's just, is this fun? Oh look, it's Jim Carrey in The Shining. Yay! Oh yeah, it's fine right now. It's okay. Fast forward, a decade from now, and where are we going to be? I'm telling you, man, it's great stuff. It's cool technology. But. Wayne Ford says, it is scary. I watch deepfake interviews and the transition is scary. It is. Oh, it is. So yes, it's all, and that's how people, it's how you get normalized, right? They normalize as a fun sort of gag and everything's fun but you cannot tell me that the governments haven't thought, oh, that's interesting. Maybe it came from the government. I don't know. And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial. I'm just saying that, you cannot tell me that people haven't. Yeah, of course they have. It's too amazing. You could set somebody up and throw them in prison for the rest of their fucking lives, and it wouldn't matter how well they denied it. You have physical video evidence of them there, and it looks so good and so convincing that us as, the general public are not any of the wiser. And he could be like, they deep faked me, and all you need are just a bunch of, official people going, oh, shut it. Yeah, no, we don't. Oh, sure, yeah. It's insane. It's insane. That's fun shit, but I'm telling you, man, there are people out there right now that are going, ooh, have to. They have to be. Wouldn't you? If you were an evil, self-centered piece of shit, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you be looking at that technology if you were in a position of power and going, ooh, of course you would. Of course, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, Jesus. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff, man. It's crazy stuff. Bump in the Night Studio says, I seen the new technology. It's getting pretty close to not being able to tell the difference, which is scary. Agreed. What if someone made a fake video of Trump saying we're nuking? So, 100%. And you know they would because they hate Donald Trump. It's very easy to do. 100%. And as somebody who does voiceover for a living, there's audio is making its way and has been over the last number of years as well. They can make me or you, like on an audio recording, make it sound like we've said something that we have. That technology currently exists today. 100%. Are we so naive to believe that it's never been used for malicious reasons? Come on. How can it not be? We may never know. Of course it has. Of course it has. These things evolve, right? These things evolve. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that governments are all bad. And I'm not trying, again, I'm not Alex Jonesing this here, okay? This isn't a conspiracy show. I'm not saying that, there's any conspiracy around this. You just think of it logically. Wow, look at this technology, right? That is incredibly powerful. We know that cyber warfare goes on we know this. We know that countries and, the US and China and Russia, they're always at each other's throats. And at the same time, they're also in cahoots with each other as well. But we know this exists. We know that psychological and cyber warfare happens all the time. We know this. This is not conspiracy. We know this is a fact. So, come on. I mean, you mean no government? No. That's, hang on, folks. That's a little too much. Okay, we don't want it. Hang on. Whoa. No, that's where we're going to stop. You mean we can put somebody else's face on somebody else? Okay, now that's taking it too far. That's too far. You mean we could have somebody's voice say something they didn't actually say for the benefit of our country geopolitically? Okay, now that's way too far. That is hang on a minute here. That's too far. I mean, come on. We know if it hasn't been done already, it's going to be. We know this. It's insane. That's just too far. You mean we could have Putin say something he didn't say? Well, fuck that. No. You mean we could have the president of the United States say something he didn't? Well, hang on a sec here, folks. And I'm talking about everybody. The US, Russia, China, they're all doing it, folks. They're all doing it. It can get crazy. It can get crazy, man. It can get crazy. Whew. Anyway, I'm just picturing Alex Jones. That's how it's going to be. Oh, my goodness. Let me see here. A couple of super chats came in. Ryan, $5 US super chat. Thanks so much, buddy. Says, you ever notice in Halloween 1978 during the hardware store scene, bracket says, all they took was some Halloween masks, implying more than one. All they took was some Halloween masks. A couple of, yeah, I mean, maybe, does he say that? Or are you sure it's plural? Or is it all they took was some Halloween mask, a couple of knives and some rope, or some rope and a couple of knives? But then you could also say, well, he also took a couple of knives. Where are they? How many knives did he take? Because I only see him using one. So where are the couple of knives? At least I think we only see him using one. Well, he pins up Bob and then he doesn't use a knife after that. Well, no, actually, no, that's not true. He pins up Bob. Right. And then he's just got one knife because he pins up Bob, but then Bob is found hanging later. So he would have taken the knife out. So he's only using one knife. I think it's really just a matter of semantics. If you really want to get technical, it's just semantics. It's just a cop saying, they don't know what, they can see shit missing. So he's just like, well, they took some masks, ropes, some knives. You know, because maybe they see a couple of knives missing. And if you want to get well, maybe he took a couple of masks and just decided on that one and tossed the others away. He took like 3 or 4 knives and liked the butcher knife the best, and he tossed the others away. There you go. Problem solved. Problem solved. If he in fact does say masks, which you could very well be right. I'd have to watch it again and pay more attention. But I know that's what he says there. But that's how I would justify it in my own mind anyway, if it's bothering you. We're not going that far, for God's sakes. Come on. Cordell sends in a $4.99 super chat and says, I just want someone to deep fake a good mask on age 4 and then destroy the technology. Yes, that's the way to do it. You have to deep fake that shit and then destroy the technology. I'm surprised nobody has done it yet. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what the process is, and whether I don't know if you're using After Effects. I mean, obviously there's a lot of compositing that's going on, and I would imagine that you would be doing it frame by frame. Well, folks, there's 24 frames in a second, and I've done a little bit of compositing in my life on little certain things, and it's a very tedious process. Now, I don't know if that's how they're doing it, or if there's like rotoscoping going on, and I have no idea what is going on. I mean, I don't know if it's done in After Effects or if there's another program it's done in. I mean, I don't imagine you just click, 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 there you go. There's a lot of shit that would go into it, I would think anyway. But yeah, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I think it would just be an interesting experiment. Of course, you'd get taken down by Trancas, I'm sure. Jeff Harris sends in a $2.99 super chat, says, cast Alex Jones as Loomis for the oh my God, that would be so funny. That would be so funny. That would be so funny. And he's got to have his bullhorn, right? You know, he's got to have his I'm telling you, Meeker, I shot him 6 times. That would be so funny. That would be That'd be so funny. Oh man, you guys are funny. Evil Alex says, how about switching mother and daughter, Psycho and Halloween? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yep. I could see that. Yeah. And in their respective ages, right? So you put like Jamie Lee as her age she was in 1978 in Psycho. You take Janet Leigh, the age she was in Psycho, which actually was older. She was actually, I think Janet Leigh was 32, 33. Hey, Google, what year was Janet Leigh born?
Janet Leigh was born on July 6th, 1927.
Okay, 1927. So yeah, she was 33. Yeah, 33 years old. So she was 33. So far too old to play. She looked great, but far too old to play a 17-year-old teenager. But certainly, yes. I mean, you could swap them out. Yep, for sure. I think so. I think the character of Laurie Strode had more of a mousy nature than what the fuck am I blanking on her character name for? Christ. That's terrible. I'm blanking on her character name. It's been such a crazy few weeks. Anyway, Janet Leigh's character in Psycho. The chat room will let me know. What the fuck is her name again? Why am I blanking on this? Loomis is the boyfriend. Why is this happening? My God, I'm totally just fried. My brain is just fried. Marion Chambers. Marion. Yeah. You could totally switch. You could totally do that. 100%. But I think Laurie is a little more mousy than Marion. I think so. I don't see, she had a little more gusto to her. You know, I mean, she did try to steal that money, you know. Now she had second thoughts and she wanted to give the money back, but certainly, I don't know. But yes, for all intents and purposes, yes, I think you could. Yeah, it's Marion Crane. That's what I thought. As soon as you said Marion Chambers, I was like, Marion Chambers. Like, no, that's the nurse from Halloween. And I'm like, is it Marion Chambers? And that's why I paused for a moment. You probably noticed me pause. I'm like, I'm like, that's not Marion Chambers. But I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Marion Chambers. No, it's Crane. Thank you. Double take, pigeon. Yeah, it's Crane. That's right. Yeah, no, it's not Chambers. A couple super chats just came in. Bantam360 says, $4.99. Dave, did you hear about the Exorcist remake? Oh, yes. Ridiculous. Never seen a remake better than its original. Are remakes ever necessary? Thoughts? Well, I've talked about this before. No, remakes are never necessary, but they can be proven. If it's a proven IP, if it's popular, they can be, big business, good business. And that's what the motion picture industry is all about. It's always about money. Always. Again, that doesn't mean that the artists and the people involved don't want to make a good product. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, but it's always about the bottom line and how much money can we make. And that's the reality. Remakes are not necessary. They never are. But my rule of thumb to remakes is I always look for figuring out whether it's necessary to me. I always think of, I don't mind if there's a remake if the movie, there's two things that I don't mind. One, you can do it better because the technology exists today to tell the story better and because of special effects or whatever. Like The Last Starfighter, pretty archaic special effects. Great story, but I think you could tell that movie better today with better special effects, right? It makes sense. I can understand why you would do that. Or the subject matter in the movie is either more relevant today than it was 30 years ago, or is just as relevant again like it was 30 years ago. And maybe it's a very important thing, like something to do with society or social issues, or and maybe it's not so on the nose, but there's that subtext to the movie, then like I understand it. I get it. And I always use this as the example or a example. One of my favorite Harrison Ford films of all time is The Mosquito Coast. It's a Harrison Ford movie that not a lot of people have seen. River Phoenix is in it. It's a great movie. And there's definitely a social message in that film. But I think it was far too ahead of its time. I think if that movie had come out today, I mean, maybe not today with 78-year-old Harrison Ford, but if that movie had come out today, I think it might have done better. It's a great movie. And I'm not suggesting they remake The Mosquito Coast. I'm just saying that it's great. And his performance in that is fantastic. Unbelievably fantastic. I think it was directed by Peter Weir as well, the guy that also directed Witness. But are they necessary? No, they're never necessary. But, a lot of remakes are stories are always told over and over again, and they will always be told over and over again, just in different ways. There are really no new stories to tell. There are just new ways to tell them. I mean, every now and then you find a story, but the story though, like the story, the archetypes and the foundation of stories, there really isn't anything new. Like you might think you're watching, I've never seen this movie before. It's like, no, you have. You've just never seen it told this way before. Like Star Wars was not a new story. It wasn't. It's a very archetypal story. It's the hero's journey. And that's been told for hundreds and hundreds of years. We just had never seen it in this way with dogs flying spaceships and laser swords and, space. And it had never been told that way before. You know what I mean? And so it feels like it's wholly new. It's completely new. And it's like, well, no, it's the root of the story, fathers and sons and family and discovery and, finding your purpose and your lot in life. And, it's all been told before. It's just being told in this epic space opera. So there's really no new story. Like very rarely is there a story that at its core, when you strip it away, the fundamental principles of a lot of, archetypes and sort of as it relates to the human experience, or it's just, they're very far and few between. There's just new ways to tell them, ways that we've never seen before. And it looks like we're watching something completely new, but we're not really. It's more of an illusion in some ways. It feels new, and the illusion works, totally works. I've never seen this before. It's right. You've never seen it this way before, So, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm sort of just kind of, do they need to remake my concern with The Exorcist and remakes, especially when you go to remake a movie that is so amazing, that is so part of pop culture, is when you watch The Exorcist, it's not just about, you know, the demon and Reagan and, you know, your mother sucks cocks in hell and all that crazy awesome shit that you get. That's all great, but it's a real character-driven movie. They don't make, if The Exorcist had come out today, and it looks like they're going to remake it, my worry is it's going to be a CGI fest, and there's going to be no nuance whatsoever, very little suspense, and the root and foundation of what made that movie so brilliant is gone, because they want to appeal to, you know, the 18 to 34. You know, it's got to be in your face all the time and get rid of the slow burn and you know, and it's just gonna, you know, and you're gonna see like, you know, you're gonna see that shit, you know, and they're gonna do the spider walk down the stairs, but it's gonna be slower and it's gonna have glowing eyes, you know, and it's like, you know, and that's what they do. You know, we're going to modernize it. She's going to spider walk down the stairs and her mouth is going to open and hit the floor and this big snake's going to come out of her mouth and shit. And it's like, you know, I would like to believe that whoever does this movie knows that The Exorcist isn't brilliant because of any sensationalism. It's brilliant because of the more to do with the subtext of the movie as it relates to Father Marion and Damien and, like, I mean, Father Marion, what is it? Yeah, I think I said that right. Marin, I think it is, not Marion. Especially to Damien too, you know, and how at the end of that movie, Damien sacrifices himself. Think about this. He sacrifices, here's the subtext, right? And the nuance. It's really about the priests. Like, from a certain point of view, it's right. Matthew Mills says Damien's redemption. Listen, it's not that all the Reagan stuff and this girl is not great. That's all cool stuff. And the voice and everything and the eyes and the turning of the head. It's all great. That's cool stuff, right? But the heart of the story, yeah, is like this redemption arc. You know, and how Damien sacrifices his own life to save a little girl he's never met. And what I mean by that is when Damien first meets Reagan, Reagan's already gone. I mean, she's in there because you can see, you know, help me right on, but she's gone. It's already, you know, the demon. I mean, it's Damien, please. I mean, he's never met this little girl ever. And he sacrifices himself at the end to save a girl he's never met, and he dies. He saves her life. That can't be lost in a remake of The Exorcist. You can't lose that. That's, even if you don't realize it, that's part of what is so powerful about that movie. I'm not a religious person at all, but I can watch this movie under that impression. Okay. I'm going to watch this movie. We have, you know, the Catholic Church and the priests and the cross, and we're going to watch it from this perspective, right? And when you watch it from that perspective, it's very powerful, you know. And all the other stuff, yeah, that's great, yeah. But if you don't have like that great conversation that he has, you know, on the stairs there, right, like towards the end, how, you know, the two priests, you know, they're just talking, and like if you don't have nuance, if you don't have this subtext built all the way through, it's nothing. It's just a fucking demon taking over a body, something we've seen 9,000 times. You know? That's what worries me about the remake of The Exorcist. It's like, yes, it's one of the greatest horror movies, arguably the greatest of all time. But there's reasons for that. It's not just cool makeup and green slime. You know, that's important, but there's a lot of stuff there, you know, And when you go to Max von Sydow's character too, and the symbolism in Iraq, and at the beginning, and he shows up, and I mean, it's just there's so much more going on. So, remakes are never necessary, but they do make money. Now, they don't always make a lot of money, but when you look at what the studios release, they do sometimes make money, and sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it isn't. But the best way you can talk to the studios is don't go watch the movie. I know it's hard, but it's like, if you're pissed off that there's an Exorcist remake, don't go see it. Don't watch it. Well, I have to watch it. I want to see if it's, well, then you can't complain. Don't go see it. Don't pay the money. If you're pissed off that they're making Halloween Kills, don't go see it. The only way that you're going to speak to the studio, unless you know the studio head personally and he comes over to your place for dinner, the only way you're going to speak to them is through your dollars. That's it. That's it. If there's something you don't like, then walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk. I do not own The Last Jedi because I think it's dog shit. I don't own it. I own The Force Awakens. I own The Rise of Skywalker. I don't own The Last Jedi. And I know there are some people out there that consider themselves completists and they need to own everything. That's fair. I understand that. But the reason as I said, The Last Jedi, even to this day, was the single most disappointing movie-going experience of my entire life. And I said, I'm not giving you any more money to watch that movie. And I haven't. And I won't. That's how you do it. Now, I'm never going to give... No. But if a lot of people do that, it speaks to them. It says, they don't want this. If you don't want an exit... Now, they'll make it whether you like it or not. But you don't have to support it, is all I'm saying. You don't have to support it. But then again, who knows? Maybe they'll make something that is really good. The probability is very low, but maybe they'll make something that's really good. And that you see the trailers, and in those trailers, and trailers can be deceiving, but in those trailers, you go, okay, interesting. It looks like there might be something here. Because sometimes that happens too. And then you see a couple of TV spots and then another trailer and you see the poster and you're like, And then you listen to the interviews and you're going, you know what? Maybe this is worth a shot. Because they've done a good enough job of marketing the movie and telling you, this is what we're presenting to you. Please give us a chance. We understand what The Exorcist is all about and what makes The Exorcist so great, right? Everything, not just, but everything. Green slime, mother sucks cocks in hell included. All of that, right? And we understand that. We understand that you're skeptical and yes. And here. And maybe through the marketing, you go, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And sometimes that happens and you watch a movie and you go, you know what? That was actually pretty good. The best thing you can do is if you do want to watch the movie or any movie is to go in with realistic expectations. Do not go in expecting this to be better than the original or thinking it should be better than the original. Just go in thinking to yourself, I hope this is a decent movie that pays homage to the original in a nice way. And if you can leave the theater going, that was okay. That was all right. It wasn't a total disaster. It was okay. The original's still the best. You may never watch this, remake ever again, but you're like, that was okay. And it wasn't that bad. That's what I always try to hope for, and then anything else is icing on the cake. Gypsy Warrior says, it can't be worse than The Exorcist 2, surely. Oh, yes, it can. Come on. How many times has Hollywood said, hold my beer? Michael Meyer says, do you like the final girl from Happy Death Day? Tree. Yeah, I do. I really like those two movies. I'm a big fan of Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2. I really wish they could do a third one. Really wish they could do that. Let me just see. Hopefully I didn't miss any super chats here. I did. There's a couple that came in. Because obviously I was ranting and raving there about remakes for a while. So sorry about that, guys. You know me when I get off on my tangents. Frank Riker says, Dave, switch Dr. Loomis for Dr. Giggles in each movie. Yes, I say we do it. Frank. David Lee Barron sends a super chat. Thank you, David. Says, did Endgame earn its box office success? It wasn't organic for me because many people all over got together on a mission to get it to number one. To me, that isn't organic and genuine. What do you think? Well, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I mean, money's money. They made it. And, but yes, there is different intent behind certain things. So, I don't know. I mean, would Endgame have passed Avatar if there wasn't this completely juvenile, ridiculous hate for Avatar? And when it was looking like it wasn't going to beat Avatar, even the studio re-released the movie with an extra few scenes or something just to get it over the hump. And everybody was, starting a crusade to be, and it's like, well, I mean, it's not illegal. Avatar 2 could do the same thing. If that's a really good movie, all the Avatar fans can then come back and do the same thing. Nothing stopping them, nothing stopping Disney from doing that. I don't know. I mean, it does for me, yes, because it feels kind of chintzy and cheap, and it doesn't feel organic. Organic would be, I mean, look, if you going to the movie theater 13 times is organic for you, okay. But I think the average person only goes once, maybe twice. I don't understand people that go to watch a movie like I went to see the movie 34 times. Like, what the fuck, dude, get a life. Like, seriously? I've never liked something in my life that much. I can't even imagine that. Respect to you. Like, I say this with all due respect, but that's fucking insane. I've never liked something, been invested in something to the point where I've watched a movie 10 times in the theater. I couldn't do that. The most I can do is 3. And I've done 3 a couple of times. I saw Avatar 3 times, but that was primarily because I was going with 3 different people who wanted to see it because, it was such an event, right? I saw Halloween H2O 3 times, but that was because I worked at a movie theater. And the first time I went and saw it, I was going to actually see it. The second time, my dad was going to be late on picking me up from the movie theater. So I had a couple hours to kill. So I went and watched Halloween H2O. I was like, okay, I'll just sit and watch Halloween H2O because there wasn't really anything else I wanted to see. And then the third time was with my buddy Brian, who hadn't seen it yet. So I wasn't going because I was like, oh, Halloween H2O. It's just because I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go with you. I don't mind doing that. And then Rise of Skywalker, I saw 3 times for the same thing. Went with my girlfriend, went with my buddy Bruce and his 2 kids, et cetera, et cetera. So it's that kind of thing. But I've noticed with every time I get to the third time that I've seen it, I'll walk out of the theater after that third time and be like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't need to see this again. I don't want to see it again. I'm done. I don't care how good the movie is. I'm like, I'm good. I can wait for the Blu-ray. I can wait 3 months, to see it again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to see this. I don't understand. And I say this with all due respect, but I just don't understand people who can go and watch a movie 15 times in the theater. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, dude, aren't you fucking sick of it? Like, aren't you really? 15 times? 30 times? 25 times? Like, dude, think of the money you could save, or think of I'm just like, do you really need to see it that many times? I just don't understand that. Yeah, I don't understand that. But I do know that there is, that there are people that, were definitely wanting it to break Avatar's record, which I believe it did, but it did marginally. Like it needed the help of people going, come on, we got to break Avatar. It needed that. Which goes to show you how incredibly successful Avatar was. I mean, Endgame was front loaded too, because it made 300 something mil at the box office opening weekend. It's like, oh my God. So it was very front loaded, but it goes to show you though, how amazing that Avatar run was, because Endgame didn't fly over the finish line. Endgame hobbled and limped just past Avatar. Like, it's really marginal when you look at the totals. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, all they would have to do is re-release Avatar like they did Endgame in the same run, but just re-release Avatar, let Avatar pay, play for 2 weeks, and then Avatar will be the king again. I mean, it's that close. So, but I agree with the principle of what you're saying. I think it's I think it's chintzy, but it's just because I'm not that kind of individual. I've never understood that. Again, I can understand going to see a movie twice, 3 times, okay, but once you start hitting like 6 or even 4, like 5, 6, I remember a buddy of mine years ago when The Dark Knight came out. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to see The Dark Knight tonight. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, it's my 11th time. I'm like, 11th time? Dude, the movie's only been out for like 2.5 weeks. What? Like, aren't you sick of it? Like, I can understand maybe if you're like 5 or something and you're watching a movie over and over again, because I used to do that when I was 5. But as a 40-year-old man, like, it's like, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it like that close together. I could see watching it like 11 times in a year maybe, but 11 times in a theatrical run or 12 or like, I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. Just crazy. Okay, let's see here. Frank Riker sends in a super chat and says, Dave, would high tension change for you if the gender of the lead killer was changed along with her imaginary character too? Well, yeah, because you're changing the foundation of the movie then. I love high tension, or as it's known in some parts of the world, switchblade romance. And it's one of the best psychological thrillers probably in the last 20 years. If you guys have not seen High Tension, it's a foreign film. I think it's a French film, if I'm not mistaken, although I could be mistaken. Maybe it's Holland? Anyway, it's subtitled, but watch it. It's a great, I think it came out in 2003. Love it. Love it. One of my favorite psychological films of the last decade. Johnny T says, is pronouncing the word movie? No, I said movie, not movie. Movie. M-O-V-I-E. Movie. Did it sound like I said movie? I didn't say movie. I said movie. That's funny. If it sounded like I said movie, it's probably because I slurred my word together. That's funny. No, it's movie. At the movies. Josh McGrath says, Dave, what's your opinion on folks that blame horror movies on real life incidents? For example, those 2 girls back in 2014 stabbed their friend to death because Slender Man. Oh, I remember that, dude. I remember that. Yeah. That's the Slender Man movie was god awful, atrocious. And I didn't need to see it to know that because I haven't seen it. But I knew when I saw the trailers it was going to be dog shit. I was right, it was. That's the general consensus. What a shock. Glad I didn't spend my money on it. I would say that no. I think it's an easy escape. I think we should always be mindful of what our children are watching and what our children are into, especially today. It's not like it was when I was growing up through the 1980s. The ease of access to information, the influence that can be on your children's minds. And, we know scientifically, we know this is a fact, that the brain continues to develop until you're 25. And when you are like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I mean, you don't have the cognitive ability to reason with any sort of maturity or life experience. And you are very susceptible to outside influence, hugely. More so than you were 35 years ago when I was like 7, or 6 or whatever. They were older than that. I know that. But I'm just saying, when you were a young kid, yeah. I think we should be mindful of what our kids are watching, 100%, for sure, what they're searching online. And yes, and that is the responsibility of the parent, 100%. And if the kid gets into shit that they shouldn't be into online, well, that's the responsibility of the parent. You are a parent. That's your job. That's your job. Well, I didn't know it. That's your job. That's your job. But that's your job. You're a parent. And it's about balance. your kid, like, you don't have to lock your kid up where they're not social at all. It's about balance. It's about teaching your kids from a young age. It's about bringing them up in that teaching environment, being aware of what they're into and talking to them and being transparent with them and teaching them. And yes, there's going to be ups and downs. And yes, kids are going to rebel. But as long as you do that, you do the best you can. Yes, for the most part, it's your responsibility. It's not the responsibility of movies and entertainment. That's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is to tell stories and entertain. It's your responsibility as a parent whether you allow your kid to see that or not. And yes, sometimes there's situations where it's out of your control. Like they go over to sleep over at Johnny's house and Johnny's mom and dad allows them to watch it. But then it's your responsibility to say that my son is not allowed to watch that. But then look, parenting ain't easy, man. And I'm not a father, but I can certainly tell you, I know it's not easy. It's one of the toughest, if not the toughest job in the world. And my hat goes out to all the good moms and dads out there. My hat does not go out to all the shitbags out there. But it's the parents. And that doesn't mean that it's got to be like, Fort Knox, but you have to be aware of what your child is doing and watching and into. And then you make the judgment call as the parent, whether it's appropriate. And every parent is different for what's appropriate for them. I understand that. And that's where sort of the conundrum comes in because, but little Johnny's allowed to watch it. Why am I not allowed to watch? I get it. I totally get it. I do. And I don't have I'm not a therapist. I don't have any immediate advice to what the best course of action would be in that kind of a scenario. But we know those things are going to pop up. But movies can influence, yes. But if your kid knows that it's a movie, if they know it's not real, if they know it's just entertainment, if they're brought up in a loving environment, even from a broken home. I was brought up in a broken home. My parents divorced when I was like 4. But I still, I don't remember any of this consciously, but I knew that I was, I knew it was fake. I knew it was just movies. I wasn't going to go out and do that. But it was a different world. That's like 30 something years ago now. It's a very different world. But no, to answer your question, no, I do not believe that it is the responsibility of the movies to curve their stories just because little Johnny in Utah might be watching or little Sally in Ontario, or it's not their fucking problem, man. That's not their fucking problem. That's why there are things called ratings. You know what I mean? No, it's the responsibility of the parent. That doesn't mean that the kids who go off and do certain bad things were not inspired or influenced by things they saw on television. That doesn't mean that. And I'm not saying that, as creators and artists, you shouldn't be mindful of that, but it can never hinder creative and artistic expression because little Johnny in Oklahoma or Sally in Boston could end up being a serial killer. I mean, sorry, that's not my problem. That's your problem. Make sure little Johnny and Sally are coming from a good home, and then maybe we won't have that. And are there examples of kids that come from good homes that, grow up and that become bad people? Yes. It's life, man. Yes. But it's not the responsibility of the creators, No, not at all. Okay. Oh, I'm almost out of time here. I've been chatting a lot. David Lee Barron sends in a $3.99 super chat and says, Invader of Body Snatcher ending to scary as fuck. You mean the remake, the 1978 remake with Donald Sutherland, Invasion of the Body Snatchers? It's not Invader of Body Snatcher, it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And it's a remake from a 50s film, actually. I believe it was the 50s. I love that movie. The 1978 remake is one of the best remakes of all time. Actually, there's a general consensus on that. It is one of the great horror remakes, one of the great remakes, actually. And it is one of my favorite horror films of all time. 100%. Love that movie. Absolutely love that movie. Darren Sand says Dave's Trump opinion on Slender Man. Total disaster. Absolutely. Totally. Super chat comes in from Frank Riker. Frank, my man, Frank the Tank says, for the sexy MFers in the chat, again, thank you very much, Frank. You are amazing, but you already know that. You're suave. You know that. Jeff Harris says, hey, Dave, thoughts on The Crow? Rewatched it last night. I haven't seen that in quite some time. I should watch that again. I probably haven't seen it since the 90s. So it's been a while, man. But I don't remember not liking it. Like, I think I liked it. But I haven't seen it since the 90s, so it might be one of those movies that, yeah, I liked it, but it didn't resonate with me maybe as deeply as it did others. But I have to check it out again. Chris Baber. Thank you, Chris. I'm going to be honest. I don't have a question. That's okay. That's okay, Chris. You sent in a $3.99 super chat, and I greatly appreciate it very much. So thank you for doing that for sure. That is awesome. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me for episode 106 of McRae Live. I really appreciate the super chat questions, the non-super chat questions. I think this was a fun show. This was a fun show that I think kind of got us thinking. You know, we were thinking about, certain things with the main topic. There were certain things during the Q&A that got us really thinking, and bouncing things back and forth. I like that. I like when shows really challenge ourselves. The topic and the open discussion really sort of gets us thinking, and that organic conversation just starts to flow. I really like that kind of stuff. It's one of my favorite parts about hanging out with you guys. Thanks to my moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, and Darren Sands for doing what you guys do. You know I love you guys, and I think you guys are amazing. Today was a great show. I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for McRae Live at that time. You know what I just realized I don't have, because I had to... redo my, I had to reinstall Windows yesterday. It didn't crash on me or anything. I just wanted to do that because I was having some issues on one thing, and I thought that a nice sort of fresh install would work. And I realized that I don't have my, let me just see here. I just realized that I don't have, I don't know why it's not going to do that. Let me just scroll down here. Okay. It's probably over here. I don't have my Patreon card locked up. And let me just go over to my Patreon card. Where is it here? It's probably in here. I got to get my Patreon card ready to go. This is probably the most recent one. So I'll throw that one up there and do that. So I think once it's there, it's going to come up. Oh, wait a minute. Let me cancel this. It's not supposed to be there. Oh no. Okay, so I'll delete that. Yes. Okay. You know what? Yeah, maybe I could do it like that. That's what I'll do. I'll just throw it up here like this, and then we'll just call it a day. Where are you here? Media, do that. Okay, guys, have a great rest of your day. You guys are amazing, and I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers.